Hey guys, welcome back to another video in the r/EntitledPeople subreddit. Today I have 3 stories involving the lovely entitled neighbor. Don't you just love when someone else thinks they're entitled to your land, your skills, your time, your belongings, even the family pet? I don't, and that's why I want to live on Mars, by myself, with my cat. Entitled neighbor arranged the readoption of our dog without our knowledge. So 14 years ago, when I was 10 years old, we moved from London to a farmhouse in the country. Along with us came our family dog, Jasper, who passed last year but would have been only a year old at the time. Our new neighbors were a typical, lovely farmer couple with a small dog called Bonnie, who instantly became friends with Jasper. So the as of yet not entitled neighbor starts taking Jasper along on his dog walks around the fields. And of course, we let him. Moving on a couple years, and long story short, the neighbor got a pet cat, who died and then put down Bonnie as he was apparently too sad to live without the cat. Without a dog of his own anymore, neighbor had become fixated on Jasper, often whistling for him whenever neighbor went on his evening walks. And we still let it happen because Jasper had a lot of energy and walks were always a good idea. A few months later, and my family had decided to move to France. I go ahead with my mom while my dad and my sister stay in England for a while longer so she can finish her GSCEs. A few weeks before my dad officially joins us, he drives Jasper down to France and drops him off, before heading back to England alone. Now for the juicy part. My dad is working in his office, a barn across the street, when he hears the now entitled neighbor whistling for my dog. "Jasper, where are you?" "He's not here." "What do you mean?" At this point, Ian actually goes into our house looking for our dog. "What are you doing?" "Well, I know you're moving, so I called a friend and they said they'd adopt Jasper. I'm here to take him to them." "Now where is he?" "You can't have him, he's in France." "You're lying, give him to me." It went on like this for a bit, and he was genuinely shocked that we had taken our family dog with us when we moved house and country, and that he couldn't give him to the friend of his. As an aside, this same man once came into our chicken coop and crushed all the eggs of one of our brooding hens because we had too many chickens. We only had 10 to 15. I thought my mother was actually going to kill him after this. Edit. Wanted to say that the man I questioned lived with his wife, so not lonely, and was also a member of the local parish church. I think he also once took our dog to get groomed without our knowledge. Not as serious, but he cut off the lovely tuft of hair our dog had on top of his head. I just want to ask one thing. What the actual F is wrong with this man? He put down a perfectly healthy dog because he was mourning over a cat? Killed a bunch of innocent chicken fetuses? Then thinks he's entitled to someone else's dog? Someone call the SPCA on this man's ass, for goodness sakes. He sounds a bit off his rocker if you ask me. Also, what is with neighbors trying to steal family pets? This seems to be a pretty common occurrence, which baffles me. I can't believe I even need to give this PSA, but if an animal belongs to someone else, you can't have it. That is all. Good grief. Company demands 100 free fabric masks from a disabled, impoverished seamstress. For context, I'm the disabled, poor as F seamstress. I had to quit working at 30 years old due to severe full-body CRPS causing fatigue and extreme pain. I got hosed on disability and live on $900 a month now. My mom, a seamstress who used to make wedding gowns, taught me how to sew as a kid, and I love it. It's awesome getting to make things exactly how you want them, but my screwed up nerves aren't as fond of sewing. It can cause a good deal of pain if I sew for too long. It starts with the feeling of a cold yet burning gel slowly spreading from my shoulders down my back. And by the end, my leg can feel broken and my feet are on fire. It's lots of fun. When COVID hit and they announced that fabric masks help, I said F the pain, it's worth it, and I began pumping out masks for family and friends, plus some neighbors. I gave away the first 30, but started running out of the right supplies with money being so tight, I couldn't afford more. So I asked people to donate $2 per mask if they were financially able to. Some people gave me more, including my amazing neighbor N. Seriously, one of the best neighbors ever. Super sweet lady. N began asking if I could make masks for her coworkers, and she took them and mailed them for me. Then one day, N texts me to ask if I'd be able to make 100 masks for a company. Apparently someone who ended up with one of my masks loved it and owns a company with about 100 employees. He wanted to give each employee a mask. The business owner texts me to ask about the order. I said, sure, I can do it. It'll take me about 1 to 2 weeks as I work solo and I'm disabled. I want $5 per mask as this order is huge. I wanted some sort of profit. At that time, many mask sellers on sites like Etsy were charging upwards of $20 per mask, so my $5 was dirt cheap. In the end, business owner ghosted me and finally got her friend, B.O.'s wife, to admit that he found it ridiculous he was being charged more for a bigger order. The guy wanted them for $1 each. Oh yeah, and he felt 4 days was sufficient to sew them all. That would have meant killing myself, barely sleeping, and landing myself in a wheelchair for weeks while I recovered, all for the privilege of losing $100 on the order. It was heavily implied that as I'm disabled, I should have been grateful he was willing to pay it all. By now, I'm far more aware of what my services are worth. I donated or sold at bare cost the first 200. Since then, I've begun selling on Etsy and have produced at least a further 200 masks since then. I'll never again consider a large order without both a slight markup and ample time. It's simply not worth it. Wow. Just wow. That business owner is another one of those business owners that shouldn't be a business owner. I guarantee he treats his staff like trash as well. I also guarantee that he never found someone else that would make good quality masks for less than $5. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand the importance of keeping costs of goods low in a business, but there comes a point where you just become a piece of crap. Ripping off one person for your own personal gain means that the person you ripped off might not be able to feed their family. That's the world of capitalism though, and it's a sad one. Entitled neighbor thinks she has a right to our cabin/land when we are not there. My family owns a few cabins up in Michigan that we rent out throughout the year. We have one that is our main one. It's on a lake perched on a hill so you can see it from far away. My siblings and I all have kids now and are all in our 30s, so someone is usually up there from April through November, with maybe a few empty weekends here and there. Our neighbors on the bottom of the hill suck. There are a couple from out west who ripped down the 2 old cottages on the land they bought and built an ugly modern looking home that would fit in a large city rather than on a lake. The bad thing about building such a large home is the lack of yard space, and they love to cry to us about how their kids have no backyard, and if we could sell some of our yard to them, it would be great. Well, we love our yard. It's big enough that we had 2 weddings there, can have a full family reunion with 100+ people, and still have room to play cornhole or other yard games without being in the way. So every time this family has asked to purchase a part of it, we say no. We do have an old chicken wire fence between the properties, and we have grass, whereas they have just forest floor around their home, so it's really easy to see where the 2 properties stop. So just last weekend, my dad got a call from one of our other neighbors claiming that they saw the bad neighbor up on the hill walking around our cabin with a few other people she did not recognize. So my dad did what every homeowner would do and called the cops. He's drinking buddies with a few of them during the warmer months, so they were out to go check the place out really quick. Now this part is all from the cop my dad is friends with. Turns out when they got there, the bad neighbor was walking around with her friends trying to set up a kid's outdoor winter park in the snow. The cops asked if she had permission and she lied to their faces, saying she was in the process of closing on the land and that she is ripping the cabin down to turn it into a small snow park for the area. Well, the cops told her that she was trespassing, that they were called here by the owner, who they were friends with. I guess bad neighbor got really quiet and started to try and walk away, but was ticketed along with her friends for trespassing. I guess they also laid into the ladies that if a kid got hurt while they were out here illegally, they will be liable for anything. And then he said he is recommending my family put up a restraining order if she is caught up here again. This isn't the first time she has been on our property without permission. We have caught her out on our dock smoking, and she has picked a few of our veggies from the summer garden, both of which are on the other side of the hill from her. We're going up there once it gets warm enough to install more cameras, as right now we only have ones above the doors and garages. This reminds me of that other story with the grandpa that thinks his grandkids are entitled to his neighbor's yard. I'm gonna give OP the same advice and say put up a fence and put a no trespassing sign or 6. If they don't want to put up a fence or HOA doesn't allow fences, then definitely follow the cops' advice and get a restraining order, because there's so many loopholes with the legality of land and trespassing, and this whole situation could get ugly real quick. But anyways, that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed those 3 entitled neighbor stories. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do. And I will see you in the next Reddit stories. Bye!